All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new DC update. And today, I finally get to talk about something in regards to DC that I absolutely love right now. Now, before I get into the couple of things I'm going to talk about, I first want to talk about a few of the comments that I saw in my last video. Now, first of all, I ended up sharing something in my last video that ended up not being true. It was a quote about Rachel Brosnahan and David Corn Sweat. They were at a reading, and it was a fake quote that somebody had said had come from like the Hollywood Reporter or something like that. And I want to make it very clear that I am always, and I have always, if you've watched my channel from the beginning, you guys all know that if I come in and I have said something that is wrong, I actually come in and correct it in the next video. And I'm always going to do that. So for some people to come in and say they got me, or you're a horrible person because you're spreading misinformation, or you're doing it because you just want to spread the hate, that isn't true, guys. And for those who say you need to do better research, you also have to understand that this is not my full-time job. I do YouTube for fun. I am not making enough money on here to support myself. Hey, and if it ever gets to that point where this could support me and I have the time to check out every little thing before I do a video, you're dang straight I'm going to do that. But I'm not making money on here enough to support my family or make this a full-time gig. So to sit there and think that I have hours and hours and hours and hours of my time available to do all kinds of research to appease the few of you out there that are going to point out every little thing, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Like I said, unless this becomes a full-time thing, which I don't see that as even a possibility at this stage. So if you want to get it to that point, support my channel more instead of just coming here and trying to lambaste me like you're harpooning me like you got me in some gotcha moment. You make yourself look like a fool when you do that. Just straight up, you do. And so I had to ban one fool today from doing something like that, talking about how a terrible person I am for doing this. And there were a couple people on there trying to say that, trying to discredit the fact that I have been reading DC Comics for over 35 years. And to think that I don't have a say in it because I'm not a true DC fan because 90% of what I own is Batman. Ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. I will tell you I am more of an authority on DC Comics than a couple of other channels out there that are running their channels that they don't even read DC Comics or know anything about comics. So those people that come in with this, you're going to get banned very easily. I'm not here to have people troll, okay? Now let's talk about the cool stuff. So first of all, the first thing I wanted to talk about is I want to talk about the first couple episodes of Superman and Lois Season 4. And then I'm actually going to show you some photos and some stills from the new Absolute Batman #1 that came out yesterday. Holy crap. That comic is the best new Batman comic I have read since I think I started reading Batman back in 1988 when they had the Death in the Family storyline, which got me hooked on comics. And so this is pretty freaking awesome. Like, I'm going to show you a couple of things. It was like a breath of fresh air. Scott Snyder nailed it. Like, he knocked it out of the park. And I am very eager to see how that series is going to be going. And if you haven't picked it up at comic stores or you haven't gone to a comic shop in a long time and you're looking to jump in, go check this storyline out. The Absolute Batman storyline is something that you're going to want to follow. And I was very intrigued, and I'll show you some pretty cool things. But first, let's talk about Superman and Lois Season 4. The first thing I have to say is I'm really disappointed that this show is going off the air after this season. They had originally, some of the actors had talked about how they had planned this show to go on for, 7 or 8 years, and now it's getting cut short at Season 4. And I guarantee you it's not just because the CW is going away. They could have moved that show over to Max, but Doom Patrol's canceled. Everything is canceled prior to James Gunn's universe starting because he doesn't want a Superman competing with his Superman. He just doesn't. Guys, it's a fact. You could sit there and try to state otherwise, but he does not want anything competing with his stuff. And so what you have is this show is freaking phenomenal. The first two episodes had a lot of feels to them. There was a lot of emotion. It was gripping. It was an engaging storyline. Lex Luthor's a badass. Like, there's some really cool things. And if you have not watched Superman and Lois, now's the time to watch it. Like, get caught up, finish it in this final season, enjoy what's there, because after this, it's gone. And it pains me that, everybody talks about Man of Steel being, that version of Superman being such a dark and dreary Superman. He's never happy. And you get this version of Superman, and it's got a very similar feel. And even the creators and the writers said they were trying to make it a lot like Man of Steel. And they've taken a lot of inspiration from that. And it's wildly successful. People love it. But no, they have to yank that away in favor of James Gunn's Superman. So all I can tell you is that this show is off the charts amazing. It's really sad that it is going away, because I think the more versions of these characters and the more you have to give to the fans, you're going to get a bigger audience. These are DC characters, and people are smart enough to know that you can have different versions of these characters running around. They're not as dumb as they think people are. And so that show, like I said, phenomenal. I am so eager to watch the rest of the season. I will do weekly updates as the episodes air, probably the next day or the day after, as soon as I have a chance to watch it. But they dropped 2 episodes this week, and they were incredible. Incredible. All right, so that does lead us to Absolute Batman. And for people who don't know, Absolute Batman is an alternate universe. There's basically 2 universes that have now, the whole omniverse or the multiverse has been erased in DC Comics, and you've got 2 alternating universes here that are mirrored, and it has a lot to do with Darkseid. And again, it's crappy that we're not going to get a finish to the Darkseid storyline, but in movies, but we're going to be able to enjoy this character in comics. And we've got 2 different alternating universes here. You've got the main Batman storyline, which hasn't been interesting in a while, but they're actually going to have Jim Lee come in and do a run, as well as having Jeff Loeb come in and be the writer. So there's some cool things coming up. But right now, the regular Batman comic really hasn't been that interesting in a while. They did have this fail-safe storyline that led up to the Absolute Power storyline, which was pretty decent. So if you haven't read Batman, I would go look for that. The fail-safe storyline just came out in a trade paperback recently. Go check out that story. It's pretty freaking awesome. It is. It's the first time I've liked Batman since they had Scott Snyder working on the storylines, 5 years ago, and his whole run was amazing. But this Absolute Batman is this alternate universe where you have alternate versions of these characters. And this version of Batman does not come from money. His dad's actually a school teacher, and his mom is a public servant. And his background, so he doesn't come from money. He's a big dude. He's got a big presence. He's actually friends with a lot of the villains that we would know in the regular storyline. Alfred is not part of his life at the beginning of this story. In fact, Alfred has a very interesting story arc, and this is the first of 5 issues that are going to be part of this first story. And I'm very eager to see where this goes. They did something very unique with Alfred, which still kind of matches his backstory in comics, but to the nth degree. He's doing something very interesting. And what's really cool about this Batman is his suit functions way different than what traditional Batman suit functions like. There is a scene in the comic where he's got to come up against a bunch of bad guys, and I'm going to show you what his suit does. This is pretty freaking crazy stuff. So the first photo I have from the comic here is Batman jumping in on these individuals. There's a bunch of them. You can see it's like right out in front of like City Hall. And he's a big brooding force. And notice his bat symbol. There's a reason why it's shaped like that. And I'm not actually going to show that part of it or talk about that part of it, but know that his shield does something else entirely, and there's some brutal stuff he can do with his bat symbol there. But let's look at what his cape can do, which is pretty freaking awesome. So first off, he can use the edges of it like a whip. And he can whip these around like the neck. It goes around the neck of these bad guys, and he can sling them like pretty damn far. It's pretty freaking cool to see the art in this and how they portray the suit. But his suit doesn't just do that. He can also use it to walk on and be a menacing force and take down people from the higher ground, which is pretty freaking awesome to see this go on. So they're doing stuff with this suit, and like I said, there's more to do with his emblem, but I highly encourage people to go in and actually purchase this comic, and it is going to be on a reprint because it did sell out, and so they're already going to have second issues of this, and I'm going to definitely pick up any of the other variations that they come out with. But this storyline is amazing, guys. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty freaking cool to see what's going on. But there was one unexpected thing that happened in this comic, and I'm actually going to show this to you now, and it's going to shock a lot of people. Boom! Batman used a gun. Boom! Yes, he actually uses a gun in here. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the result of him firing this gun is, but that's another cool thing that was unexpected in the comic. I didn't expect to see him using a gun. But it makes sense for this character, and you'll see that this... Yeah, I'm not going to say anything. You got to go read the story. I don't want to give too much away, but you guys got to check this out. I cannot tell you how enthusiastic I am about this storyline. It gives us something interesting to look at. It's out of the norm. It's putting these characters in situations we haven't seen them in before. Commissioner Gordon is not commissioner in this. There's just a lot of interesting moving parts, but all of the characters still remain to their core pretty much who they were in this in the regular timeline, which is pretty cool. So as you guys can tell, like, I am pretty enthusiastic about this. Like, I have not been this excited to read a comic, like I said, probably since I started reading back in 1988. There's a lot to be looking forward to when it comes to the comics. We've still got an entire season of Superman and Lois, for season 4. So we have some things to look forward to. Now, outside of that, I'm not enthusiastic, and I'm never going to change my views, guys. I'm not going to all of a sudden be as optimistic as some of these other channels are on what they're doing with DC. But I am going to make a declaration here, and we'll see how many people pick up on this and actually use this. I don't hope that Superman fails. I would love for that movie to be off the charts amazing. I would love to be able to go review it and come back and tell you guys, it's the most amazing thing they've done. They're back on track. Everything is amazing. But knowing that James Gunn is behind it and knowing what he's done in the past, he has never done a single thing. And you cannot use Guardians of the Galaxy as an example because those were goofy, silly, like the rest of his stuff. All right? He has never done anything that shows he's up to the care that character needs to succeed. And I still stand by. I've been analyzing movies my entire life, and I will tell you that people are afraid to go see DC movies right now. You have fractured the fan base. And like I said before, a lot of the general public doesn't even know that a Superman movie is coming out. And a lot of the general public is going to be pissed when they see that it is not Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill was never the problem with Superman. You guys might have had some issues with the way they wrote him, and that wasn't even Zack Snyder's fault. Zack Snyder was the director. He didn't write that. And so many people have it wrong out there. They have Snyder on the brain. That they're just sick with Snyder. The reason I could talk about Gunn all the time is because he's the whole CEO of DC Studios, and he doesn't even act like it. He's one of the co-CEOs, and he doesn't even act like it. And they're still afraid to show us anything for Superman. All right, guys, so there's my DC update. I will have a regular update coming up tomorrow. I do appreciate all of the support. We will see you guys on the next video.